Hello everybody and welcome back to Battletech, where we're about to talk to Darius and maybe actually do something unlike last episode. Always good to see you at Ops, Catherine. Can I do something for you? I want to know more about our debt situation. Yeah, sure, that's fair. And I'm glad you're taking an interest. I've got time to get into the nuts and bolts of it if you do. What did you want to know? Remind me why we took out so many loans in the first place. How much time have you got? I mean, we've been hit with 1,000 expenses since we were forced to leave Chronometer, but I guess you're mostly interested in the big ticket items. Well, first and foremost, there's the Leopard. We still owe a lot of money on this ship, and losing her isn't an option. Then you've got all the assorted fallout from our impromptu trip across the frontier. Jump ship passage, docking fees, miscellaneous travel expenses, all paid for on credit. As if we had a choice. There's more that I could get into, the loan that we took out to set up Markham's family, etc., but that'd be gilding the lily at this point. The fact is, we're in a lot of trouble with a lot of lenders. But hey, we're mercenaries. We live for trouble. Who are we in debt to, exactly? I want names. How about I give you the top three? First, you've got Blue Horizon. That's the big commercial bank on Lyraton. They're the ones who own the lease on the ship. Then there's the Indri Consortium. They've got people everywhere, but they're based somewhere in Merrick space. We borrowed from one of their associates to make the jump away from Chronometer on the day of the coup. Finally, you've got Lockdown Lending. They're a frontier outfit from Hoster, and they're about as crooked as they come. Now, I wouldn't normally do business with an outfit like the Double L, but we didn't have a choice. They made a deal with Blue Horizon to buy half our debt. So that's the big three. A commercial bank, a shadowy financial consortium, and a bunch of leg breakers in cheap suits. And each of them is dangerous in its own way. Let's ask about something else. I've got some questions about running this company. Sure thing, Atraitus. I'd be happy to help. What do you need to know? Remind me what I need to know about mercenary contracts. Outfits like ours depend on the Mercenary Review Board to post certified contracts working for reliable employers. I say reliable, but let's face it, Catherine, most jobs come down to us doing the work that the rich and powerful can't be seen doing. Mercenaries are deniable assets. We travel from system to system, picking up jobs and making ends meet. Sure, space travel costs sea bills, but some employers are desperate enough to pay travel expenses for mercenaries willing to make a few jumps for a gig. What intel will we get about a contract before we accept it? Most employers will give us enough info to understand who we're fighting and why. Some are cagier than others, but by and large they want us to succeed. Because of this, we generally get enough intel to get the job done. It isn't a perfect system, but it works well enough. There are a few key things to look for in a contract. First, you need to understand what type of mission it is. Next, you should take account of the climate conditions in the area of operation. Finally, it's important to know the expected strength of the opposing force, or OPFOR. Vital, even. Tell me about the types of missions. In my experience, most contracts come down to one or more of a few basic ideas. Blowing something up, taking someone down, keeping something safe, or making a mess with heavy ordnance. There will be variations here and there, sure, but for the most part, our jobs are going to fit into one of those categories. Giant bipedal weapon platforms aren't exactly known for their subtlety. Tell me about climate conditions. If you're not watching the climate conditions, you're not in full command of the battlefield. In most environments, you've got to watch your mech warriors' weapon fire and jump jet use so they don't overheat their battle mechs. Badlands and deserts make your mechs run hotter, so you're going to want to pay careful attention when you're fighting there. Low atmosphere, non-terraformed planets are worse. You'd be wise to swap out some energy weapons for ballistic weapons in those environments, or pack on some extra heat sinks. But the vacuum of lunar environments is the worst. It's counterintuitive, I know. Space is cold, right? But no atmosphere means basically no heat dispersion, and you're sitting on top of a fusion reactor. Use your jump jets sparingly, or you'll be shut down in no time. All that stuff being said, frozen environments are like heaven for our mech warriors. The heat from weapon fire and jump jet dissipates at a much greater rate, and you'll have the maximum options on the battlefield. Tell me about mission difficulty, though. It's important to have an idea of what you'll be up against once your lance hits the ground. Unfortunately, mercenaries are often on the ass end of mission intel, and the most we'll usually get is a rating of the enemy's overall strength. At best, a mission's difficulty rating will give us an idea of our post-mission repair bills and medbay time. or a signal that we should avoid the mission altogether until we can bring bigger guns. As a general rule, we should field the heaviest mechs we can on a given mission. Bigger isn't always better though. Speed and mobility are important on escort and other missions where flexibility is as valuable as firepower. I'll try and give you a heads up when we're offered missions like that. Can we withdraw from a contract? Absolutely. That's the great thing about being a merc. It isn't our fight. We're here to make money, not die for a cause. You can back out of contract negotiations at any time with no harm done, but once we deploy onto a battlefield, it gets a little trickier. If things start going sideways during a mission, you can still withdraw to save on repair bills and medbay time, but it may still cost us. If we withdraw before achieving any objectives and destroying at least one enemy, the Mercenary Review Board will rule it a bad faith withdrawal. Not only will we not get paid, we won't get any battlefield salvage either. Plus, our reputation will suffer, both with our employer and with the MRB. Now, if we withdraw after achieving an objective and destroying at least one enemy, then the board will rule it a good faith withdrawal. Our pay will still be reduced, but our reputation won't take a hit, and that's important for business. One last thing on this subject. If one of your mechs is getting banged up bad and it looks like a mech warrior may not make it out alive, you can order them to eject during combat. Sumair will fly suborbital and recover them, and will scoop up their mech after the mission. That's good to know. Tell me about reputation. Our mercenary outfit's reputation determines the quality of contracts we're offered, the quality of the mech warriors willing to hire on with us, and the deals we get on weapons, mechs, and equipment in local stores. Most employers won't offer us the really juicy contracts until we've proven ourselves over time, but once our rep is solid, we'll get access to some high-paying gigs with opportunities for some serious battlefield salvage. Why is salvage so important? If C-bills are like blood, salvage is like food for a mercenary company, or something like that. I don't really do analogies, let's just leave it at salvage is good. Here's why. Salvage lets you replace components you've lost, or upgrade your mechs to better suit your combat tactics, and if you don't end up needing the salvage you can always sell it off at the nearest store. Salvage rights are a time-honored tradition in the mercenary trade, and figuring out who gets what at the end of an engagement is a vital part of our business. In addition to C-bills, most contracts will offer salvage, reflected as a ratio like 2:10. The first number represents how many priority salvage items we get to handpick after a battle. The second number is the total amount of salvage we'll get, subject to the whims of our employer. You can negotiate salvage rights for every mission you accept, so keep it in mind. How do we negotiate? Mercenary contract negotiation is pretty straightforward out here in the periphery. It's all based on the golden triangle: C-bills, salvage, and reputation. C-bills are the coin of the realm, so to speak. We use C-bills to pay for travel expenses, upkeep on our ship, salaries for our crew, and repairs or refits for our mechs. C-bills keeps us flying. Salvage is part of our take too. The more salvage we take off the battlefield, the fewer C-bills are deposited in our account. The fewer C-bills we ask for, the more salvage we can get. Now you may want to take less money and less salvage in order to increase our reputation with the party offering the contract. Yeah, it'll cost us now, but the investment could really pay off later down the road. This guy has a lot of things to tell us. Tell me about how our outfit's finances work. It's pretty simple, really. Every 30 days, we have to pay the crew and cover our regular operating expenses, upkeep for the mechs we have ready in our mech bays, upgrades to our equipment, things like that. So if we don't have enough C-bills to cover our operating costs at the end of the month when our financial report comes due, we're out of business. Merc life doesn't allow for second chances. Remember that when you're ordering weapon refits and ship upgrades, and make sure to reserve enough to cover our monthly nut. I'm sure this is obvious, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How can I raise the operating costs of our company? Obviously, the more mech warriors we hire, the more we've got to pay out each month. Nevertheless, it's a good idea to have a strong bench. You never know when somebody's going to take one in the meat and be out of action for a while. Any upgrades we make to the ship will have upkeep costs too. Yeah, they're advantages, but they're advantages that require ongoing maintenance, and that costs C-bills. How can I lower our operating costs? Well, for starters, consider putting the mechs you don't plan to field for a while into storage. Although it'll require time and C-bills to refit their equipment and ready them for combat, stored mechs have no upkeep costs. By the way, remember that you can sell mech chassis and equipment if we're ever low on cash or you see something shiny in a store that you've just gotta have. Anyway, back to operating costs. You can always dismiss a mech warrior if you're having a hard time making payroll. and every month you get to decide how generous to be with their pay. Careful though, a mercenary's salary has a direct effect on their morale. Let's talk about my mech warriors. Sure, what do you want to know? How much do I need to worry about their morale? Mercenaries aren't like members of the Royal Guard, Atraitus. They're in it for the paycheck, not for loyalty to some noble house. Because of this, keeping their spirits up is important. Mech warriors with high morale get inspired more often on the battlefield. Their heads are in the game, and inspired mech warriors can create opportunities. I've seen inspired mech warriors make precision shots I thought were impossible, focusing their fire at one location on a speeding enemy as if it were sitting still on a shooting range 25 yards away while wearing a sign that said "Shoot me" in neon green. Inspired mech warriors show amazing vigilance, too. They seem to have an uncanny ability to blunt incoming damage and have heightened reflexes, so they can act faster on the battlefield. Amazing stuff. On the other hand, I've seen mercs with low morale up and leave an outfit like ours without warning. Sometimes you'll see it coming, sometimes you won't. So yeah, you need to worry about their morale, Atraitus. You're the boss. What kind of control do we have over their training? They gain experience in every mission they complete. We can chart their training and guide their development in 4 skills: gunnery, piloting, guts, and tactics. As they become stronger in a particular skill, our mech warriors gain access to special abilities that can be used in combat. The first ability is the Mech Warrior's specialization. Mech Warriors can only have 2 specializations total, so pay attention when you're training them. The first 2 they acquire are the only 2 they'll have. The second ability is the Mech Warrior's expertise. Mech Warriors get only one of those, and it has to be from one of their specializations. Whichever expertise they learn first is the only one they'll have. So 3 abilities total per Mech Warrior. That's a lot of possible combinations. You'll need to decide for yourself which abilities work best together according to your command style. Lastly, nearly every skill also grants a minor increase to some facet of combat performance. Mech warriors can become more accurate with ranged or melee attacks, can keep their mechs stable under sustained fire, or even take more injuries before being incapacitated. Hell, they can even get better at taking called shots when the opportunity comes up. Do more experienced mech warriors require higher salaries? Wouldn't you? As mech warriors grow in skills and abilities, their salaries will grow with them. It's possible to hire skilled mech warriors in the hiring halls of the systems we visit, but they'll have higher salary requirements than the mech warriors you've trained yourself. Is there any general info you'd like to share? Things happen on a mercenary ship, Catherine, all the time. You throw a bunch of mech jockeys in a confined space with technicians and crew for months on end, and you're going to see some spillover from the battlefield. And operating a merc outfit isn't a glamorous lifestyle. There are hard choices to be made on a regular basis, anything from breaking up a fight over petty bullshit to dealing with faulty power couplings. Still, I wouldn't trade this for just about anything. We go where we want, we fight who we want, and we have only one god we obey. The mighty Seabill. Well, and you, I guess. Yeah, it's the merc life for me, Atraitus. All the way to the end. Got a few minutes to chat? Yeah, sure, I've got time to talk. Before any of this started, you worked with the Arano Royal Guard. Tell me about it. It was more than just a deployment, it was a full campaign. High Lord Tamati gave us a job back in 19. We were supposed to be assisting the Royal Guard to round up and eliminate a pirate clan on Fjaldar. Commander Markham thought it would be easy money. Turned out to be anything but. We lost a dozen mech warriors in the 3 months of the Fjaldar campaign. Had to hose them out of their cockpits. Would have been more if it wasn't for Sir Raju. He saved our people's asses on more than one occasion, went out of his way to do it. And the thing is, he didn't have to. We weren't under his protection. We were the hired help. A lot of people in Mastiff's position would have used us as cannon fodder, but that wasn't his way. He treated us as if we were his own. He was a good man, Catherine. As good as they come. Tell me a bit about yourself, Darius. Where are you from? I grew up on Nassau Heights. It's one of the HAB stations orbiting Artru. 30 decks of economic stratification with the corporate suites on the upper decks and everyone else crammed into the lower ones. My old man was a dockhand. We lived on deck 28, 2 levels up from the bottom, with the other station maintenance personnel. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, my dad would load and unload cargo shuttles, vacuum-sealed Queelar and nutrient paste for people like us, and luxury goods for the suits upstairs. The old man must have unloaded 1,000 cases of Cassildan eel roe, plump, succulent eggs the size of melon balls. Never got to taste any, though. Any one of those tins would have cost him half a year's wages. Anyway, Catherine, I don't want to saddle you with my life story. Suffice it to say that I got an eyeful of what I didn't want to be on Nassau Heights, and I did what I had to do to change my circumstances. And by the age of 16, I struck out on my own. I left that station with a handful of skills, an enormous web of contacts, wow, and a rucksack full of that expensive caviar. And once I made it out of Nassau Heights, I never, ever looked back. Gotta run, Darius. Okay, so, contracts. This is the one that Darius wants us to do, I believe. We believe there is a pirate lance operating on Bellerophon within a region we control. All local government operations are at risk as long as this lance is allowed to move unimpeded. Patrol the area, find the enemy lance, and eliminate it. So 2 out of 10 salvage, plus 8 max rep, and almost a quarter of what we have right now in payment. And it includes travel. This will be in a desert, so that's going to be fun. So we can negotiate better salvage, but that, okay, so it's not actually a slider, there are these presets. Let's just go right down the middle. Decent salvage, decent payment. We can't do any sort of rep changes here, so we'll go ahead and accept this contract. And off we go. Okay, so time is now passing. That's very XCOM-like. And we got to the jump ship. There we go. And it's now spinning up. And here goes the KF drive. Boom. And boom. Excellent. And our Leopard undocks. And off we go. Shakedown. We're on the Leopard's bridge with Sumair, Yang, and Darius for the daily staff briefing. Darius says, "We received 3 messages from the banks." Loan sharks, Sumair cuts in. "From the people who are financing us," Darius continues. "They're considering rewriting the terms of our loans, so it will be easier to seize this ship if we miss a payment. As usual, they're only doing this because they believe we can't fight it in court. So we can sweet-talk the banks, ignore the messages, or educate the banks about their mistake." There's no tooltip about what any of these do. I think we educate the banks. "I'll deal with it," you say. Later, we record a response. In it, we sternly remind our lien holders that as financial institutions operating on Detroit 3, they must abide by local contract law. We even cite the relevant sections of legal code from memory. Then we point out, as we've kept records of all payments and correspondence concerning the loans, we'll be able to demonstrate in court that their proposed revisions to the agreed-upon terms would represent such a gross violation of the law that we would undoubtedly be rewarded a second dropship at the bank's expense. Once the camera is off, Sumair says, "There's no way they push you on this. Too bad. I like to see loan sharks grovel. Our company has gained the following tags: loan status, fair." So it worked! Sweet. Okay, so off we go. Laser show achievement. Okay.
Job's done.
All work orders complete. The crew is ready for the next job. We arrived at Bellerophon. Let's not quite proceed with the current contract yet. Just because I want to see... We could continue ticking forward the 14 days to get glitch up. But let's go ahead and take a look at our mech bays here. So we currently have our Blackjack, our Vindicator, our Shadowhawk, a Spider, and the Locust. I think the Locust we could put into storage, theoretically. So let's go ahead and do that. It's just a little 20-tonner. Just save us a little bit of money in the future. We didn't actually hit a month tick, I think, so... Although maybe we got paid. I'm not entirely sure. But let's just hop back to the Leopard. And let's launch our contract. This may be a long episode. So, we're going to have our lance here. It's going to be exactly the same lance. This is a desert planet, so we're going to have to watch our heat, but we are going to drive our blackjack, as usual. There we go. And then we're just going to have the Shadowhawk. This is just going to be exactly the same. Shadowhawk with Behemoth. Vindicator. Glitch was driving the Vindicator before. We're going to stick Medusa in there as a replacement. And Decker can hop in his Spider. There we go. And let's go ahead and deploy. Get ourselves our sweet, sweet loading screen. And actually, we are up over 20 minutes already. So I do believe that I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here, and next episode we will be destroying this pirate lance. That's probably going to be the best way to do this. Yeah, I think that's probably for the best. Otherwise, this is going to be like a hour-long episode, and that's not going to be good. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put a cut in here, and I will see you all next time.